So what we're about to do now is create the main part of the virus, which is the viral membrane, this grey sphere in the centre of this little model I've already made. We start this off by tying a loose-ish knot around your crochet hook. Don't tie this too tight because it makes the next step a little bit fiddly. So I've just tied a knot around the crochet hook and I'm going to chain 2. So yarn around the hook, pull that through the knot to create the first chain, yarn around the hook again, pull that through the first chain to make the second chain. And the top or the bottom of the sphere, doesn't really matter which way around it is going to be started off by working 6 double crochet stitches in the first chain altogether. When you work 6 in that first chain, it makes a nice little tight circle of double crochet stitches. So to make the first double crochet, you push your crochet hook through the chain, pull the yarn back through, and you end up with 2 loops on your crochet hook, and then wrap the yarn around and pull that through both loops, and that's your first double crochet stitch. I'm just going to make another 5 double crochet in that first loop. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that gives me 6 in total. So what you've done there is you've started off the top or the bottom of that viral membrane sphere. Now the second round is going to be worked directly into the stitches we've just created, and in each stitch in this round you want to work 2 stitches. So we go from 6 stitches to 12 stitches by the end of the next round. So you do that by pushing your crochet hook through the first stitch, pulling the yarn through. You've got 2 loops on the needle, the yarn's wrapped around the crochet hook again, and you pull that through both loops. And I'm going to make another double crochet stitch in exactly the same place. So crochet hook straight back through, yarn pulled through, yarn around the crochet hook, and it's pulled through both those loops. So we've got 2 double crochet in that first stitch, and I'm going to repeat that all the way around the circle. So I've just come to the end of that round, and we've gone from 6 stitches right in the centre, and we've now gone to 12 stitches, and the circle's growing in a nice spiral out from where we started. In the next round we're going to increase, and at this point in time you might lose where you are in terms of the start and the finish of the rounds. So I'm just going to take this tail that we started off with and I'm going to bring it across, and then if I forget where the start or the end of the round is, I'll be reminded by this little tail of yarn sticking out. So I'm going to work 2 double crochet in the first stitch. So that's my first one, and that's my second one. But in the second stitch, I'm just going to put a single double crochet in there. In the next stitch, I'm going to put 2 double crochet. And in the stitch after that, I'm just going to put 1. And I'm going to go all the way around the circle, repeating that pattern. So 2 stitches, 1 stitch, 2 stitches, 1 stitch, all the way around till the end of the circle. So I've just come to the end of that round, and even if I'd forgotten or lost count, I'm reminded by this little tail of yarn there. So before I start the next round, I'm just going to pull that tail of yarn again to the start to remind me where I'm going to finish and start. So in this round we're going to increase another 6 stitches. So we've gone from 6 stitches right in the middle to 12 to 18. So in this round we need to increase another 6 to give us a final count of 24, and we're going to do that in the same way as we've already started. So in the first stitch we're going to work 2 double crochet, and then we're going to work a single double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So 1 there and 1 there. After that we're going to repeat that all the way around the circle. So 2 double crochet, 1, 1, 2 double crochet, 1, 1 all the way around the circle. So I've just finished that round, and by the end of that round what you can see now is the fabric that we just made starting to curl up, which is good because we want the sides to come round and form a nice spherical shape. So we finished increasing for a little virus. We'll make a little virus first, and what the next 3 rounds, what you should be doing is to simply work a single double crochet in each stitch. So keep the number of stitches the same. If you count stitches at this point and you've got 1 or 2 more or less, it doesn't really matter. You might not have a perfect sphere, but actually it'll be a little bit more realistic. So this round and the following 2 rounds, all you do is work a single double crochet in each of the stitches all the way around, and you do that for a total of 3 rounds, and this is in essence the middle of the sphere. I've just finished working those 3 rounds, which is the middle of the sphere, and now what we have to do is to start decreasing to work the other end of the sphere. So the first stitch we'll do is we'll crochet 2 double crochets together. So it's a decrease stitch. In essence, we're reversing the increasing we did at the start of this sphere. So I'm going to push my crochet hook through the first double crochet, pull a loop through. I'm going to push it through the second double crochet and pull another loop through. So I've got 3 stitches on my crochet hook now. I'm going to wrap the yarn around and I'm going to pull that through all 3 loops. So 2 double crochet have been crocheted together. That's a decrease stitch. Now I'm going to reverse the increases that we've already done. So in the following 2 double crochet, we're going to work a single double crochet in each. Now it's time to do another decrease stitch. So hook through the first double crochet, pull a loop through, hook through the second, pull a loop through. I'm going to wrap the yarn around and pull that through all 3 loops on the crochet hook. Then it's time to work another double crochet in the next 2 stitches, and we'd follow that pattern all the way around the circle. So we'd work 2 together, then a single double crochet in the next 2 stitch, work 2 together and a single double crochet in the next 2 stitches all the way around. And in this way what we're going to do is we're going to decrease 6 stitches in this round. I've just come to the end of that round, and we're going to decrease in the same fashion in the next round. So the first 2 stitches will be crocheted together. So I've just inserted my crochet hook through the first stitch to pull a loop of yarn through, increase my crochet hook in the second stitch to pull a loop of yarn through, wrap the yarn around and pull through all 3 stitches. Now instead of working a single double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, I'm only going to work a single double crochet in the next 1 before working the following 2 stitches together. So double crochet those 2 together, then I work another single double crochet in the next stitch, work the next 2 together, then a single double crochet all the way around. And again what we're going to do by the end of the round is decrease by another 6 stitches. So we'll go from 18 down to 12. I've just come to the end of that round, and the hole that we've got left in the top is now getting a little bit tight. So at this point in time, I'm going to stuff the sphere. So if you made your lovely genetic code with scaffolding protein, you can insert that now, and that can form part of the stuffing. If not, if you've got any toy stuffing, stuff it with that, or just scraps of yarn or strands of yarn. So I've got a little bit of toy stuffing, and I'm going to poke that in, and you can make it as squishy or as firm as you prefer. I like mine quite firm, so I'm going to put a fair amount in. Oops. So the other thing that we should do now, if you wanted to do it, is if you wanted to add safety eyes, you'd insert them now, preferably before you actually put the stuffing in. If you don't have safety eyes but you want to add some eyes, then just embroider them on later. So this is the point at which you do it, before this hole gets too small. So I'm quite happy with that amount of stuffing, and we're going to complete the last round. And the last round is to work 2 double crochet together all the way around the circle. So that takes it from 12 stitches down to 6 stitches. So I'll just do that. So I need to do 6 decreases. That's the first one. This is the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth. I'm going to leave a long loop, snip the yarn and tie it off, and then I'm just going to close that little circle at the top by threading a darning needle and making a running stitch through the top of those final remaining 6 stitches. I'm just going to thread that through the sphere and then snip it off, and that's a nice squishy sphere. What we're going to do now is we're going to make these spike proteins which stick up from all over the surface of the viral membrane. It's a little bit fiddly, so take your time. It gets a little bit easier once you've done 1 or 2, and make as many randomly distributed as you've got the patience for. So the way in which you do this is to just pick a point on the surface, push your crochet hook through a stitch, and then pull the yarn for the spike, and I'm going to use red, the same as the computer generated model, but it doesn't really matter what colour you use. I'm going to pull a loop of that yarn through. I'm then going to make 2 chains using both strands of this yarn. 1, 2. Oops, my crochet hook fell off there, doesn't matter, I'll put it back on. Now, at this point in time, I'm going to make a final chain, but just with the long end of the yarn. And to create the kind of little club shape at the top of the spike, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work 6 double crochet in that second chain. It's a little bit fiddly, but that should create a nice little club shape. So that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, that's 5, and that's 6. To close this circle, I'm just going to pull the yarn through the first double crochet. I've just pushed my crochet hook through that. I'm going to pull the yarn through and through my last stitch, and I'm just going to fasten it off. I'm going to pull that through the loop, and I'm going to pull it tight to close it off. There you go. Now I can snip this off because it's already woven into a stitch, and I'm just going to weave this in using a crochet hook, and then we can snip that off and tidy it off as well. So I'm just going to take it through a few stitches to weave it away, and then I'm going to snip it off. So there's your first little spike made. If you wanted longer spikes, you just make a few more chains at the start, and you want to make as many spikes as you've got the time or the patience, randomly distributed all across the surface of your membrane. So in true Blue Peter fashion, here's one I made earlier. So the lovely spike proteins are sticking out, and if you've got good attention to detail, if you've got an eagle eye, you'll also note that I've embroidered on little, a few stitches to make a little yellow dot, and a few stitches to make a pair of little orange dots. If you look at the computer generated model really carefully, you'll see that there's two other features that are labelled. So you've got the red spike proteins, and then you've got these little yellow dots which they've labelled E protein, and E protein is short for an envelope protein. And you've got a pair of little orangey coloured dots labelled M proteins, which is short for membrane proteins. So if you want to make a super realistic model, you can add on some of these envelope and some of these pairs of membrane proteins. And these are two other viral proteins that are important in the viral structure and function. And so that's the end of our little virus. You can turn it into a key ring by attaching a split ring. If you haven't got a split ring, you can just insert the crochet hook through and crochet a chain to attach it onto, make a loop and attach it onto whatever you want to. Now, if you want to go bigger, so once you've made your little virus, you might want to go bigger. What you do is you'd follow the instructions we've already done, and when you get to the middle of the virus, you wouldn't stop increasing. You'd carry on increasing in the pattern that's set. So instead of stopping at working an increase stitch and then 2 single double crochets in the following 2 stitches, you'd work an increase stitch and then a single double crochet in the next 3. In the row after that, you'd work an increase stitch and then a single double crochet in the next 4 stitches, and so on to however large you want the virus to be. You'd then work a few rows in the middle of the sphere, and then you'd mirror the increase in the decrease pattern to work the other end of the sphere. And there's your lovely little COVID-19 crochet model, and I hope this really is the closest you'll come to this wee beastie.